Buenos dias. Wonderful to be here. How are you all this morning? Awesome. Okay, my accent is from Australia, so you definitely will need the translation services today, I am sure. But what I want to talk to you about today is the future. One of my roles at HP is to think about the future for HP and to help us prepare for it so that we have a good sense of what we think is coming, and so that we can create better products, deploy better services, launch new businesses in light of that. Now, one of the interesting things that I think we all experience is the pace of change. And I thought it would be really interesting to think back over the last 100 years and to think about how much change we've seen happen in that 100 years. So we created a video for that, and in fact this is the first time we've played it publicly, so I really hope you enjoy it.
A new chapter in transportation.
One moment, please.
The world's largest airship.
The truest, most lifelike reproduction of the original music possible.
Our era, the era of television. Marvelously sensitive instruments.
The forefront of a new era.
The revolutionary material and intellectual effects of such machines.
With more speed than ever thought possible.
One small step for man.
The world of color.
Unprecedented speed and efficiency.
It's a portable problem solver.
Hello?
Revolutionize the computer printing industry.
Wind has great potential as an energy source in America.
An engineering technology breakthrough.
The wave of innovation.
Seamless. Intuitive.
Real-time, personalized.
The future.
Yes, indeed. What is next? Do you remember the brick phone and the You've Got Mail? And we now take all of those innovations for granted, but they're absolutely breakthrough when they first hit the world. And even recently, we're seeing that pace of change accelerate. For example, in China, now, we have an AI news anchor that is able to read the news. It's able to learn by listening to news videos. And this AI digital news anchor can work 24/7. Of course, in the future, this news anchor could also be your personal news anchor and deliver news personalized for you. At the same time, in China again, for the very first time in history, a robot or an AI became the world's first medical practitioner. Took the same exams as a human being, passed the test, and now is a fully licensed medical practitioner. And at the same time in Saudi Arabia, a robot became a fully fledged citizen of the country. So we now have robots that are fully licensed doctors and legal citizens of countries. For those of you that know of IKEA, the do-it-yourself furniture store, you know how hard it is to put together that furniture. In nearly all cases, you have 10 bolts and screws left over and maybe only 3 legs on your chair. You now have robots that can even assemble IKEA furniture. I think this proves that finally they're becoming more intelligent than human beings. And technology and biology emerging as well. We're now able to store 214 petabytes of data on a single gram of DNA. And in Silicon Valley, where I live, a startup is using brain tissue and merging it with silicon to create the world's next supercomputer. So really, is it any wonder that we're starting to be overwhelmed by this change, which is happening faster and faster? It took the telephone 75 years to reach 50 million people. It took Pokemon Go just 19 days. And so, of course, we all start feeling like this more and more. And the question comes up is, how do we stay ahead of this change? How do we all do the disrupting and not be the disrupted? And that's what I'd like to talk with you about today. And I think there's 3 reasons why companies struggle. The first is that many companies don't stay ahead of all of this change. They're not aware of what's happening in the world around us. So staying in touch with this change is really important. And I'm going to talk about Megatrends today, which is HP's focus on these changes. The second thing that typically happens too is that we all get stuck in our own bias. We all have assumptions about how the world works, and even when they're changed, we're not willing to give up that bias. So we need to challenge our assumptions. And of course, the third thing is we need to be prepared to take action. A lot of companies see this change coming and yet still don't move fast enough to stay ahead of it. And so I think one of the secrets to doing this is to tap into our inner futurist. And what do I mean by that? Yes, I have a role that you might call a chief disruptor or a futurist, but really this is the job of all of us. Everybody in this room is a futurist and needs to be a futurist. It's not just the job of a few, it's not the job of the CEO or the CIO or the Chief Innovation Officer. It's all of our jobs is to adapt to this change in whatever role we play. And being a futurist really isn't just predicting the future either. It really starts with a mindset, having an open mind, being aware of this change, challenging your assumptions, being willing to think differently. It's about having a bold vision. There's so much change happening now that we really need to focus on what we want, because all of the technology in the world will allow us to figure out how we do it, but focusing on what you want is really, really important. And having a bold vision is important. In the 60s, the US said, we shall land a man on the moon by the end of the decade. They had no idea at the time how they were going to achieve that, but it galvanized people together and set a common mission for doing that. Bill Hewlett, one of HP's founders, did that with a calculator. He wanted a computer or a calculator he could fit in his shirt pocket. And in 1972, that led to the birth of the HP calculator, which many people still use today. Now, when we think about the future and being aware of what's happening in the future, this is what we refer to as megatrends. These are the huge shifts happening in the world that are changing all of our lives. Our individual lives, our business, our society, our economics. And I want to go through a couple of these with you today and share what innovation these megatrends are bringing into the world today. And the first one we call rapid urbanization. Now, especially here in Latin America, you experience this a lot, the massive movement of people into cities. 1.6 million people move into cities every 10 days. Now, as people move into cities, our cities are getting larger and we have more of them. By 2030, we'll have 49 megacities in the world. Cities of 10 million people or more, up from just 10 in 1990. And as people move into cities, they start earning more money, they start spending more money. So thanks to urbanization, we'll also welcome about 2 billion new consumers into the world economy by 2030. Now, what I thought I'd do is share a few examples about how this is driving innovation around us today. These aren't just things that happen in the future, they're happening today. So here's a couple of quick examples of the impact and the implications. One of them is we're seeing smaller homes. Of course, we have less room to live in. Our cities are becoming more dense. Micro and nano apartments are becoming more and more popular. In Sao Paulo, there's apartments the size of 10 square meters today. That's the size of an individual car park. And these are mainly targeted at students and young professionals, but the spaces we live in are getting smaller. So how we design products and services for these smaller spaces is becoming more and more important. Now, at the same time, the same is true for real estate, office space. I think we're having someone from WeWork talk a little later today. Well, here's the newest hot co-working initiative at just $2.25 per hour because it's in a parking space. So in San Francisco, the real estate's so expensive, but there's so much real estate dedicated to cars and parking that people are starting to co-work out of parking spaces. Our cities are becoming different. Across China and India, new cities are being designed from the ground up to be more efficient, to produce less pollution, to be better places to live. And this is also true in Latin America. We see smart city initiatives in Brazil, this one in Natal, that's affordable housing, where the city can be interacted with through a smart app, and that provides a community and commercial and residential spaces that allow people to live in a better lifestyle. And of course, the more people move into cities, the more our time becomes valuable, the less we want to go out into traffic. So you see everything being delivered as a service. For those of you in Colombia, you'd be familiar with Rappi. It was launched in Colombia in 2015. This is a service that delivers basically anything to your doorstep. It started by delivering drink and alcohol. It now delivers food and groceries. And even now it's become more of a super app, so it's delivering personal training, healthcare, and it will even withdraw money from an ATM and deliver it to you as well. So urbanization is driving everything to be as a service. HP delivers ink as a service. We have printing as a service. We have devices as a service. And it's all driven by urbanization. Now, as these cities get larger too, we can see that the economic power of cities is also rivaling countries. In 2030, Tokyo will have the same GDP as Mexico. And Sao Paulo will have the same GDP as Denmark. Now, why does this matter? Well, today we're all very used to organizing around a country, but maybe in the future we have to focus on cities and have special dedicated organizations just looking after cities or clusters of cities that are similar. This is extremely important when we look out ahead into the future. So the second megatrend I want to talk about is changing demographics, because while all of this is happening, our population is changing around us as well. People are living longer. We're having fewer children, which means we actually have an aging population. Do you know by 2060, we'll have 3 billion more people over the age of 30 than we do today. We'll have twice as many people over the age of 65, almost 1 billion. So you can imagine the pressure this puts on government services, on healthcare. So let's look at some of the innovation that's being driven by this megatrend. Now in Japan, it's a very aging population, and so they're starting to look at using robotics to help get the elderly out of bed. It sounds such a simple thing. But more and more, as that population is aging, there's less people to help people age in the home. And so we need technology like this to help with that. By the way, Latin America is the fastest aging region in the world. So we'll see more and more services and technologies like this, but that silver spender bracket is becoming more and more important. We all focus on the millennial and the Gen Z, but that aging population is a huge market opportunity for many of us. And yet at the same time, we've got this brand new generation called Gen Z coming into the world. This is today's teenage generation, born after 1995 and between 2010. By 2020, Gen Z will account for 36% of the global workforce. Now, this is a generation that were practically born with a smartphone in their hands, right? If any of you have teenagers, you know that's true. 40% of Gen Z are self-ascribed digital device addicts, and nearly half say that they would rather give up their sense of smell than to give up their mobile device. Now, likely they don't have to trade their sense of smell for their device, but that's how important devices are to that generation. And because they've been connected, they're also very aware of social issues. More than half say that it's more important to work for a company that wants to make the world a better place than for salary. So attracting Gen Z and retaining Gen Z in our workforce is going to require a completely different way of thinking about things. Now, the jobs that young people are doing are also different. The younger generation today, they want to be vloggers, social influencers, YouTube stars. These are jobs that didn't exist when I was growing up. 67% of kids going into school today will work in a job or an industry that does not exist. Did you know that the biggest YouTube star in the world is a 7-year-old? Ryan from Ryan's Toys Reviews. Last year, he earned $22 million as a YouTube star. His videos have 17 million subscribers and over 25 billion views. So check him out if you're into toys. And, you know, I blame that younger generation for some of the craziest viral crazes that I've ever seen. This one I came across recently where some Gen Z come up with the idea of taking your phone number, dropping the last digit, and increasing it up and down and just texting random people to say, "Hi, I'm your number neighbor." Now, of course, depending on who received that message, they get a different response. But you can read here the sort of response they get from someone else of that age group, like, "Who's this?" "I'm just a random person." "Oh, hi. Could you do me a favor? Could you text my girlfriend because she blocked my phone number?" So new crazes are hitting the world because of this younger generation as well. And people have a different idea about how they want to work. Here's a business, it's $1 billion business, and nobody works in the office. 700 people. All of them work remotely. And the CEO actually says, "We don't do in person." And other companies have introduced a 4-day working week. So how we work is changing as well, as fast as what we do is changing. So the third megatrend I want to quickly talk about is something we call hyperglobalization. The world really is getting smaller. We are being connected more and more. We're living more of a digital life. And one of the effects of this is that as the world gets smaller and everything becomes connected, we see these digital platforms take hold and take shape. And we see startups leveraging these digital platforms to launch themselves into the world. And startups are growing faster and proliferating a lot faster than they used to. And so it's not the competition you know that's important to keep a focus on moving forward. It's the competition you don't know about yet. It's the two people in a garage that are starting something new and that will come out of nowhere or seemingly nowhere with a completely disruptive business model or product. So you need to be thinking about startups and what they're doing and being aware of that as well. So one of the implications of this trend is that we are seeing companies do more and more to connect the world. SpaceX, Elon Musk company that you're probably aware of, recently launched an effort called Starlink, where they plan to launch thousands of satellites into low Earth orbit and connect them all with laser to create a mesh that surrounds the world and will connect everybody. There's more than half the world today is connected, but that means that there's billions of people that are not yet connected to the internet, but that will soon be changing. We see globalization affecting the products and services in the world too. Hyperglobalization doesn't mean creating one product and shipping it around the world. In fact, it's the opposite. As cities grow and develop their own culture and unique characteristics, you need to create products and services targeted for a specific region or even a specific city. This is a new laser jet from HP called the Never Stop laser that was designed specifically for small, medium businesses in emerging markets. And Adidas are now designing shoes focused on a city. They have shoes designed for running in New York that are different from shoes designed for running in London or Paris or Tokyo or Shanghai. The ones in New York apparently are better for going around sharp corners because people in New York are running on the streets. But products and services now need to be tailored at a city level more and more. We're also seeing services from places like China break out of China and enter the world globe and the world stage. Who has used a service called TikTok here? Maybe not many, a few up there. This is another service that's very popular with Gen Z. Think of it like Instagram, but short videos. And the videos are all really ridiculous, of course, as you can imagine. So they're really, really popular. So this is a service that has 150 million daily users, but 30 million of them are in the US. It's the first breakout social media app that's taken hold in the US from China. I think it marks the start of a huge trend. I was in Israel recently, and when you look at hyperglobalization, it means that, in theory, we should be able to work better together and collaborate remotely. They had a service where you put on an augmented reality headset and you scanned the room you were in, and it instantly created a 3D model of the environment you were standing in. And then somebody on the other side of the world could put on a VR headset and virtually teleport into that space. And somebody in Israel could then visit a place in the US and virtually talk to each other as if it was real. And this has been used in the construction space. All of the buildings in cities that are springing up, all of the experts that need to be helping out can now virtually teleport on site and do this. We'll see this more and more moving forward. As everything becomes connected, security becomes more and more important. There are 4 new viruses launched every second of every day. Many of you are probably aware of that. You spend a lot of time thinking about how to defend your IT networks. HP just launched a service called SureSense, which uses artificial intelligence to help with that. So instead of having to recognize something as a virus, it's trained to look for virus or behavioral characteristics of a virus. So even if a virus has never been seen before, it can detect, oh, this is behaving like a virus. I'm going to prevent that from being downloaded or used on an edge device. So AI is being used now to protect our networks as well, given that everything's connected. And money is becoming virtual as well. Facebook just launched a cryptocurrency called Libra. You don't have to really understand the details of what that means, but what it means in practice is that anybody, anywhere can send money anywhere in the world instantaneously at very low fees. Very, very different to how existing money transfer services work today. And these currencies aren't owned by governments anymore. They're owned by corporations. These currencies are becoming global too. So hyperglobalization is having an amazing impact on the world around us. Now, last but not least, I want to talk about technology. We call it accelerated innovation because everything is becoming smarter. Everything is becoming automated. Everything is becoming personalized. And this is happening faster and faster. And you just have to read the news to see it around us. This is a really interesting conversation that maybe some of you have heard before, but I want to play it again. This is an AI that called to make an appointment for dinner. And it's getting very, very hard to tell the difference now between human and AI. Have a listen to this.
Hi, I'd like to reserve a table for Wednesday the 7th.
For 7 people?
It's for 4 people.
4 people when?
Next Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Oh, actually we reserve for after 5 people. For 4 people you can come.
How long is the wait usually to be seated?
When, tomorrow or weekday or?
For next Wednesday, the 7th.
Oh, no, it's not too busy. You can come for 4 people, okay?
Oh, I gotcha. Thanks.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Now, if you couldn't understand the human English very well, it's because it was really difficult to understand. There was a strong accent and it was imperfect English. And the AI on the left here did a great job of tracking the conversation. So now imagine, AI can make reservations for us and what have you. It's harder and harder to tell the difference. Robots are becoming more viable. I don't know if you've heard Boston Dynamics. You guys seen those robots? Probably the internet videos. You generally see a human being whacking a robot with a stick to make it fall over, and the robot stands up. And there's part of you that wishes the robot would just say, "Stop hitting me with that stick." But Boston Dynamics are launching this robot commercially next year. I mean, take a look at how this can open a door. Pretty amazing, huh? They can even dance. All right, I don't know who's going to buy a dancing robot just because it can dance, but it's pretty cool it can dance as well. So you might be thinking, well, what are robots going to do? Okay, well, those robots will be able to work in warehouses. They'll be able to do surveillance in dangerous locations. And Ford have a service where they imagine that a self-driving vehicle will deliver the package outside your home to the curb, and then a robot will pick it up out of the car and deliver it to your doorstep. So we're going to start seeing robots more and more working around us and amongst us too. Now, when we talk about self-driving cars, I don't know, there are a few stats that shocked me. At least in the US, people drive 3 trillion miles a year, 3 trillion on the roads. They are behind the wheel for 75 billion hours a year, most of those stuck in traffic. Now, imagine when you don't have to drive these cars. I actually think cars of the future will be movie theaters of the future, restaurants of the future, indeed offices of the future as well. And self-driving cars are going to change more than just our transportation. Imagine now where the road is full of self-driving cars, we don't need to own cars anymore. We'll just have a car drive us whenever we need it. We won't need parking spaces anymore. How will that change our homes, our offices, our cities? Self-driving cars are going to have a huge, huge ripple effect on the world that I don't think we can even imagine just yet. And at the same time, Uber is already thinking about flying taxis. This is a service called Uber Air planned for 2023. It'll launch in Dallas, in LA, I think, and Melbourne, Australia. So yeah, go Australia. And this will be able to fly people to and from around busy cities at $5 a minute, or $5 a mile, sorry. So pretty much, and very soon, we'll not just have self-driving cars on the road, but self-flying cars in the air as well. Now, I mentioned augmentation and technology merging with biology. I was lucky enough to go to TED earlier this year, and there was a startup there that had just announced a product that you could wear, and it looks clunky now, but imagine when it becomes invisible, that through electrodes, it could pick up sub-vocalization. So, you know, when you're reading, sometimes you sort of whisper things in your head, you sub-vocalize things. You can actually pick up that and transcribe it to text and send it around the world, which means that very soon we're going to be able to think into machines, where we don't even have to talk out loud. We just whisper to ourselves. We better think into machines. But technology is also enabling human beings to actually be stronger and more powerful physically. Here's an exoskeleton that workers can wear that allows them to carry 200 pounds as though it was 10 pounds of weight. Now you might ask, well, why? Well, in the US, back injuries cost US employees more than $100 billion a year. So if you could wear something like this and now be able to lift 200 pounds of weight, you're going to reduce those injuries. Plus, again, I think it's pretty cool to have superpowers as well. So I like this one too. Now, HP is well known for 3D printing. Researchers have recently figured out how to 3D print human organs. They're able to take cells from around your stomach and from those cells create what are called stem cells that can take on the characteristics of, say, a heart. And then with that, they can then 3D print a human heart, complete with blood vessels and everything else. Now, they've already done that with a prototype heart. But there won't be long before they're able to do that with animals and then humans. So now imagine in 10 years' time, every hospital has 3D printers that can automatically print your organs for people as and when they're needed. And scientists are also trying to simulate life. This is a worm called a C. elegans worm. It's one of the simplest organisms in the world. 959 cells, 302 brain neurons. Simple enough that scientists are able to connect all of the cells to all of the neurons in a way that mimics a real worm. And then when they turn it on through software in a digital world, it behaved exactly like its organic counterpart. So we can see that technology is really going to change the world in the years ahead. And there's lots of technologies that I've referenced here, and there's lots of technologies that we're looking at as well, and we're not going to go through all of them today, it would take forever, but we spend a lot of time thinking about what technologies are on the horizon and how we can leverage them into our business. Now, very quickly, I just want to finish with a few comments on AI. You know, AI is a popular topic. You're probably all very aware of the topic. For those of you that aren't, My view is that over the last century and however long, we've been trying to automate things. We've been trying to offload things to AI and to computers. And we've done all the simple stuff now. But we've got to a point where we're now trying to automate driving cars, we're trying to automate things that we don't even know how we do as human beings. We don't know how we recognize a cat from a dog. We can do it easily, but we don't know how to do it. So we're shifting to a world where instead of telling computers what to do, we're teaching them to learn through data. And this is why you hear machine learning or deep learning. And this is why I think this is something that we'll just see more and more of. And you're seeing huge developments here in this space. There's a great documentary on Netflix called AlphaGo. It's about how an AI beat the world Go champion, which people said was never going to happen because there were more moves in Go than all atoms in the universe. And that same company that built that recently launched an AI called AlphaZero that learns in a different way. It doesn't know the rules of a game. All it knows is the objectives of a game. And you pit two of these AIs together, and they just start playing games together very, very fast. And as they play, they learn. This AI in 24 hours beat the best AI in chess, the best AI in Go, and the best AI in shogi, which is Japanese chess. And in 24 hours went from knowing nothing to superhuman knowledge about those specific games. Now, there's some people that think that we're all moving towards something called the singularity, where machines will become more intelligent than human beings. But I actually don't think that is likely to happen, at least in the near to midterm. In fact, what I think is AI will become more like electricity. It'll be delivered more like a utility. You just plug into the grid when you need some digital smartness, and you will access AI on demand, just like we access electricity today. And so that everything around us will just become smarter, and we'll notice it more when it doesn't exist, when it's turned off. Just like we don't notice the lights are on today, but if someone were to turn them off, then you would notice that it wasn't there. I think everything that was electrified will be cognified. And we're seeing this happen everywhere around us. We're seeing it happen in medicine. We have AI digital teachers now in New Zealand. This is a specialized teacher that works with the classroom teacher to teach kids about the environment and renewable energy. And if you think about the use of AI in the office and around us as well, I love this, and this is very true. That thanks to computing power today, what it took a whole day to do in 1970 can be done in 1.5 hours today. So now imagine when everything in the office becomes smarter, where we can walk up to a door and it can just recognize who we are and unlock the door for us. No need to remember to bring a security badge anymore. Or when we're on a phone call and we get to our desk, that phone call is automatically transferred to a video call without us having to do anything. Or if we have to change a meeting and it overlaps with lunchtime, that our virtual assistant is smart enough to know that and automatically order dinner. Or when we're going to a meeting, that everybody knows how far away you are and what time you will arrive. And that when you get into the conference room, your presentation will automatically be downloaded and started without that 12-minute wait that we all go through on every conference call we join today. It seems so simple, and I don't think it's that far away. Where drawing on a whiteboard can be shared digitally in real time. This is a product from HP called HP Shareboard. It removes the pen and the person writing on the whiteboard and just captures the text over time and can share it. And if we're running late, our office AI can talk to our home AI and say, hey, Mum will be late home, and the oven can automatically turn off. Maybe we've all been to Disneyland, but why can't going to work be like going to Disneyland? Why can't we have that same experience? I like to say that boredom is not a corporate objective. And great experiences should be part of everything that we do as well. So AI is going to really change all of that as well. Now, you might be wondering, why am I telling you all of this? But I do want to say that at HP, we look at this every year. We refresh our knowledge of these trends every year, and we're actually pretty serious about using them. It's not just in products and services. It's how we manage our employees. It's new go-to-market models. I mentioned cities versus countries before. We really do apply these megatrends across everything that we do. And we really do it to drive impact. So all of our products that you use now are infused with AI. Proactive maintenance, moving everything to as a service. These are all really important things. Can someone, I may have pressed the wrong button here. So impact is really important, and driving megatrends into impact is critical. Yes, so products, AI, 3D printing is a new business we launched based on these megatrends as well. So these are hugely relevant to running a business today. It's why we take them so seriously. I just want to finish on the fact that given all of this change, we also have to be prepared to reinvent ourselves continuously. How you think of yourself as a company is really, really important. How you define your mission is critical. Think of Netflix versus Blockbuster. Blockbuster defined themselves as a retail video rentals, Netflix as a content distribution company. As the technology changed around them, Netflix thrived because they saw it as an opportunity to offer a better service. Blockbuster died because they were stuck with their mission that didn't allow them to change. They felt disruption. They saw it as a threat, not an opportunity. Now, HP too, we're also digitally transforming our business as well from the inside out. I also think large companies and companies of any size, nobody can do it all these days. $200 billion was invested in startups last year. My other day job is running something we call HP Tech Ventures. It's our corporate venture arm. We partner with startups, we invest in startups, we look for startups that can augment our products and make better products. So continually reinventing yourself is really, really important, and I just want to finish on the fact that it is not easy at all. I love some of these quotes, even if you go back in history. Look at this one about when trains came on. The King of Prussia said, "Who would want to pay money to get on a train and get there very quickly when you can ride your horse for free and it will only take a day?" Who indeed? And then, of course, when TV hit the world stage, the studios, movie studios said, "Who will want to watch TV, a plywood box? It's a fad, it will only last 6 months." Yep, that was a very long 6 months. And then more recently, we see when things like the iPhone came on, that there's no way that the iPhone will ever gain any market share. Now, I don't mention this because these are smart, intelligent people. It is so hard to be able to see disruption coming. Even when you see it, you'll assume it will never amount to anything. It'll be fringe, and before you know it, it's mainstream, and it's completely changed your business and the world around you. And this is why I think it's really important that we all think of ourselves as futurists. We all need to be looking at the future. You know, I like to also remind people that the future hasn't happened yet. We all get to create what that future looks like. Every action we take today, every action we take moving forward helps create that future for us. And I love this quote along those lines that the past cannot be changed, but the future is yet in your power. So my request would be to disrupt yourself before somebody else does, and to continuously reinvent yourself all of the time. Thank you all very much.